first, thank you for being here. Like, this is amazing. To start off, this is a question for you, and then I'm just gonna pass the mic to you. What did it feel like when you got casted for Girlfriends? Like, was it surreal? Like, how did you celebrate? Like, what was that like for you?
To go back to the mental Rolodex. How did I feel? Wow, that's such a great question. I think I felt proud, and I felt happy, and I felt relieved, because as an actor, I'm sure there's some actors out here, when you're auditioning and auditioning and auditioning and auditioning, and you finally get something, it's such a, like just a release, more of like a woosah, but also it was, I felt like I had a lot of work to do. I felt like I had a job to do. Like, I got the job, but now I've got to make this character, Maya Denise Wills, I've got to make her, all of us, make her a real person and not a caricature. Where these would be my long life friends in real life. And we used to call it Girlfriends University, yes, because we learned so much. You can learn a lot in school and theater workshops, but when you're actually in it, like it was, like a dream come true.
She is a legend. And it was so exciting because Tracy and Golden basically held the fort down. Me and Jill were recasts. Right. So they shot the pilot with a different Lynn and a different Tony. And I know those girls must be kicking themselves. But I met one of them. I met Tony. Okay. And she actually came over. She was really lovely. She was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that I get to meet you." And she was really nice. But yeah, we were recast. So there was a lot of pressure. They had cast in all these states, and I was like, oh my God, that's like too much pressure. So luckily, Lynn was out there, and they're like, she's a tree-hugging, light-skinned Scorpio. I was like, that's what it is.
How did you feel when you realized the impact of the show and like what Girlfriends meant to everybody? Like, what was that like?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, you're going to be about this because Girlfriends was around a time where there was no social media. There was no Instagram, there was no, thread, so you couldn't really hear what the street was saying. We'd have to go to like Essence Fest and see somebody at the mall, like, girl. Me and my mama was, so it was more of word of mouth, so it was just things like this and events and fan mail. Like, we literally have to open up mail. You felt the love, you felt communities being empowered, you felt young girls, young women, mamas, aunties, uncles, everybody. And then, the business started respecting us as these women portraying Black women in ways that we hadn't seen. We were one of the first shows that showed Black women doing yoga, eating sushi, wearing designer. It wasn't just Sex in the City that was carrying a Birkin bag. Girlfriends, we were really putting fashion on the forefront, and you hadn't seen Black women pull together, but yet still broken at the same time, which was beautiful.
Yeah.
And really
great from the script, and how much of it did y'all bring from just being who you are? Like, how much of it was Golden versus Maya versus Lynn versus Persia?
You want to go first? Okay.
Get it going.
We really did care a lot. I don't think a lot of actors care as much as we care, and we talked it out. A lot of times we put our own energy into it, and we really tried. We enclosed it tremendously. And for me, my character's so out there and being a bit boho, but then not 70s. I let them take a lot from me, and I kind of contributed constantly and fought the good fight as much as I could, Saying just because someone is sexual doesn't mean that they don't use protection, for example. Like, we've gotta have that. So just because she's different and she's accepting of homosexuality and all these different things doesn't mean that she also is completely dedicated to her friends and like a spiritual person. Like, these were new ideas, and they would a lot of times be like, no, she doesn't care about anything. I'm like, what? Wait, oh.
To Persia's point, I think we all fought for our characters because I think we were on the heels of, living singles. There weren't a lot of images of us, and especially playing someone like Maya, who could easily be put in a box and be a caricature, and be that girl and doing all that, and not be a full-bodied girl from the hood. Maya was the only one that was standing for what a Black family looks like, married, kid. And Maya, she was a little self-righteous, but I wanted to make sure that she wasn't the typical girl from the other side of the tracks that we've seen in all the movies that weren't fully fleshed out. Was, just like with your character, sexuality, what that means. We dealt with HIV, which was not something that was talked about in our community, and what that looks like, and the stigma that was attached to that. Kimberly Elise, real beautiful actress. I think that was one of my favorite episodes because it was an episode that really was educating, and we as a people, we're very superstitious, and but I was really happy that Mara Brocky Kill and Kelsey Grammer were both able to take the lens off of that.
I thought it was really intense and beautiful to bring the community in, and we tried to tackle those issues. And it was also really fun, I think, for me to play someone that was so out there, you know, so different. And she likes Bjork, and she also likes hip hop, and she's that eclectic American Black, because I grew up in the Bahamas. And I felt like America is so incredible. I moved here when I was 7, and it's like the people of America have, Black people, we adapt and we take from all the little bits of culture around us, unlike other countries where you could stay very isolated into your own culture. We are a very diverse, mixed culture in the sense that we take those pieces and we find our own selves within that, and Lynn was so lost.